Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking one of the most absolutely crucial upgrades in the history of the internet, the architectural paradigm shift from HTTP/1.0 to HTTP/1.1. You know, every single web page you visit today, every stream you watch, every app you open, they all owe their blazing speed and stability to the invisible tweaks we're about to discuss. So sit back, because we're going to see how a few incredibly smart, under-the-hood changes completely revolutionize the modern web.
But first, to really appreciate the brilliance of this solution, we've got to plunge right back into the stark, honestly kind of catastrophic inefficiency of the early 1990s web. I mean, imagine a time when web servers were just constantly crashing under heavy load, literally bringing entire networks to a standstill. And you might be wondering, why did early web servers constantly crash, especially when traffic wasn't even astronomically high by today's standards? Well, the answer lies in how HTTP/1.0 handled underlying network connections. It wasn't just slightly unoptimized, it was heavily computationally wasteful.
Right. So to understand that waste, we need to look at the very foundation of web traffic, which is the TCP three-way handshake. Back then, every single time a client wanted to talk to a server, they had to perform this intricate little dance just to establish trust. The client sends a SYN packet, the server replies with a SYN ACK, and then the client confirms with an ACK. This entire back-and-forth process consumes a full round-trip time, or RTT, over the network. That is precious physical time ticking away before a single byte of actual HTTP data, like, the text of your website, is even sent.
Okay, let's dive into this and see what that bottleneck actually meant in practice. In HTTP/1.0, every single request required establishing a brand new TCP connection. Think about a super simple web page with maybe just 10 images. That meant doing that full three-way handshake 11 times in total, once for the HTML and 10 more times for the images. Naturally, this caused massive latency for the user, but actually, worse than that, it caused crushing server CPU usage. The server's operating system kernel was literally suffocating because it had to continuously allocate and then immediately destroy socket resources for every single microtransfer. An absolute computational nightmare. And it all boiled down to this one specific number, exactly 1. The protocol allowed for exactly 1 HTTP request per TCP connection. It's kind of like trying to have a conversation on the phone, right? But you say exactly 1 sentence, hang up, and then completely redial the number from scratch just to say your next sentence. That's literally how the web used to work. You connect, ask for a file, the server sends it, and then click. The server hangs up. This strict one-to-one limit meant absolute garbage bandwidth utilization, simply because the network spent way more time saying hello and goodbye than transferring useful data.
Which brings us to the next phase, the process. HTTP/1.1 and persistent connections. The architects of the web quickly realized that if this network was ever going to scale globally, they couldn't just keep opening and closing doors. They had to leave the door open.
So the crucial point is the monumental shift to persistent connections, which you might know as keep-alive connections. In HTTP/1.0, developers practically had to beg for this behavior by adding a special, explicit connection keep-alive header in their code. But with HTTP/1.1, they flipped the script. The most profound architectural shift was making these persistent connections the standard default. It moved entirely from explicit manual management over to implicit reuse. You didn't have to ask anymore. The connection just inherently stays open, completely ready for whatever you need next.
And because connections are suddenly open by default, the underlying logic is completely reversed. Now, you actually have to go out of your way to tell the server when you're finished. The explicit header required to terminate a persistent connection in HTTP/1.1 became connection close. Unless a timeout happens, a max request limit is hit, or you explicitly send this specific header, that TCP socket is just going to sit there, persistently open, patiently listening, and ready to route the very next request instantly.
Now, why is keeping that connection open so incredibly important for speed? Well, it all comes back to a deeply ingrained network mechanic called TCP Slow Start. When a new TCP connection begins, it doesn't just blast your maximum bandwidth right out of the gate. The internet is a shared pipe. It doesn't know how much data the network can safely handle without causing a total congestion collapse. So it probes the network's capacity. It starts with a tiny initial congestion window, traditionally just about 4 kilobytes of data. And then it grows exponentially as it gets successful acknowledgements. Meaning every single new connection has to suffer through this slow start phase, which heavily penalizes short web transactions.
And this brilliantly illustrates the physical timeline of that penalty. Look at how the physical time gaps stack up massively. When you have to do a three-way handshake and then immediately go through a slow start for every single image and script on a page, those physical TCP round-trip delays snowball fast. You are constantly paying a physical time tax bound by the speed of light before you even get your data. By keeping the connection open, we entirely skip those initial delays for all the subsequent requests.
I actually like to think of this as the warmed-up socket. It's exactly like a car engine. Because HTTP/1.1 reuses existing TCP connections, all subsequent HTTP requests get to benefit from an engine that is already revving at full speed. The open connection inherently preserves that beautifully established TCP congestion window we just talked about, rather than aggressively resetting back to a restrictive 4 kilobytes. This gives us incredibly efficient bandwidth utilization and noticeably lower latency for the rest of the files you're downloading.
Let's look at how modern browsers handle this real-world socket reuse today, because frankly, this is happening in the background right now as you watch this. Thanks to HTTP/1.1, your browser actively reuses these open connections. All those subsequent requests completely bypass that three-way handshake entirely. And to maximize efficiency without completely overwhelming the host server, modern browsers typically open up to 6 parallel connections per origin. They keep those 6 pipelines persistently open and just stream requests through them as quickly and efficiently as possible.
All right, moving on to our final section, the culmination, systemic outcomes and trade-offs. Because as we know, nothing in computer science is ever truly free, right? Leaving connections open indefinitely definitely presents a unique set of challenges.
See, servers still have to manage their finite memory. They can't just leave millions of sockets open forever for people who already navigated away from the page. So there are practical trade-offs. Servers employ idle timeouts, aggressively closing connections after a period of total inactivity. They might also enforce a max requests limit, closing the connection after a set number of files transfer successfully. But the absolute most significant trade-off, the one that really defined the hard limits of HTTP/1.1, is head-of-line blocking.
Let's define exactly what that is, because it's a huge deal. Head-of-line blocking is an application layer limitation where one intensive request stalls all subsequent responses queued on that exact same socket. Think of it like being at a single checkout lane at the grocery store. If the guy at the very front of the line is slowly paying for a massive cart of groceries entirely in pennies, well, everyone behind him has to wait, no matter how small their purchase is. HTTP 1.1 actually tried to introduce a feature called HTTP pipelining to send multiple requests back to back, but the specification strictly required responses to return in exact chronological order. Pipelining basically failed in the real world because of this strict traffic jamming rule. But hey, despite that limitation, the final systemic outcome of HTTP/1.1 was absolutely revolutionary. By shifting to persistent connections, we entirely eliminated those deeply repetitive three-way handshakes. We drastically reduced server CPU and memory overhead. The operating system kernel was finally freed from the suffocating need to constantly allocate and deallocate resources for thousands of new sockets every single second. And we achieved vastly better, smoother bandwidth utilization. This singular paradigm shift is quite literally what allowed the modern media-rich web to actually function globally without melting server farms to the ground. So if you take away just one central thought from this explainer, let it be this core mechanic. Reusing connections minimizes socket creation, drastically reduces server overhead, and beautifully preserves the TCP congestion window. It remains an elegant, incredibly powerful solution to a massive physical bottleneck. But as always in tech, solving one monumental problem eventually uncovers the next one, right? So I'll leave you with this final provocative question. If HTTP/1.1 is so remarkably efficient, why did the world eventually need HTTP/2? Just think about that head-of-line blocking we just discussed and the inherent limitations of a text-based protocol that physically cannot multiplex concurrent streams over a single connection. The journey of web architecture never really stops. Thank you so much for joining me on The Explainer, and keep exploring.